Have you ever wondered why some people just get what they want? They get the raise, they get the date, and they win the argument, without ever raising their voice. It feels like magic, but it isn't. It's a code. The human brain is a supercomputer, but it has glitches. It relies on shortcuts and subconscious patterns to survive. Most people go through life blindly reacting to these patterns. But if you know where the buttons are, you can push them. These are the top 12 psychological hacks used by CEOs, negotiators, and social masters. Let's get inside their heads. Trick 1. Most people know that using someone's name grabs their attention, but let's look at the science of why this is so powerful. It's known in psychology as the cocktail party effect. Your brain is designed to filter out background noise, but it has a permanent override switch for the sound of your own name. When you want to persuade someone or deepen a connection, don't just say their name at the start of a sentence. Sprinkle it into the middle or end of your thoughts. For example, instead of, "Hey Sarah, what do you think?" try saying, "That's a valid point. And I think, Sarah, that you're onto something here." This triggers a distinct pattern of brain activity in the listener. It forces their ego to engage with what you are saying, making them feel significant and subconsciously more agreeable to your ideas. The next trick is reflective listening, also referred as validation. This isn't just parroting back words, it's about confirming the emotion behind them. This is a technique often used by therapists and hostage negotiators. If a friend or colleague is complaining about a difficult client, don't offer a solution yet. Instead, isolate the core emotion. You might say, "It sounds like you're feeling incredibly disrespected because they ignored your expertise." When you perfectly articulate someone's hidden emotion, a chemical release of oxytocin occurs in their brain. They feel deeply seen. Once a person feels understood, their defensive walls come down, and they become much more open to your influence or advice. Trick 3. The Pygmalion effect. This is a fascinating phenomenon where high expectations lead to improved performance. In a famous study by Robert Rosenthal, teachers were told certain students were bloomers who would excel that year. In reality, these students were chosen randomly. However, because the teachers believed in them, they treated them differently, and those students actually ended up with higher IQ scores by the end of the year. You can use this by assigning a reputation to someone that you want them to live up to. If you want a messy roommate to be cleaner, don't nag them. Say, "I really appreciate how much you respect our shared space. I know you're the kind of person who likes things organized." By vocalizing a positive trait they haven't quite earned yet, they will subconsciously change their behavior to align with that identity to avoid cognitive dissonance. Trick 4. The chameleon effect. Mirroring is effective, but it requires nuance. If you copy someone instantly, it looks like mockery. The key here is the chameleon effect with a time delay. It's about matching the energy and posture, not just the movement. If you are speaking with someone who talks slowly and leans back, and you are talking fast and leaning in, you are breaking rapport. Wait about 4 to 5 seconds after they shift their posture to shift yours. If they cross their legs, wait a beat, then cross yours. This creates a subconscious signal that says, "We are of the same tribe." It builds trust without the other person realizing why they feel so comfortable around you. Trick 5. Strategic silence. In negotiation, silence is often referred to as the heavy weight. Most people are terrified of awkward silences and will babble to fill the void. You can use this to your advantage. When you ask for a raise, a discount, or a favor, state your case and then shut up completely. Keep eye contact and wait. The other person will feel the pressure of that silence. To relieve that pressure, they will often start talking, and usually they will start negotiating against themselves. They might say, "Well, I can't do the full amount, but maybe I could meet you halfway," simply because they wanted to end the silence. The person who speaks first after the offer usually loses. Trick 6. Anchoring bias. The human brain is bad at evaluating value in isolation. It needs a reference point. This is called anchoring. The first number thrown out in a negotiation becomes the anchor that pulls the rest of the conversation toward it. If you are selling a used car and you want $5,000, Don't start at $5,000, start at $7,500. Even if that number is ridiculous, it resets the buyer's psychological scale. If they talk you down to $5,500, they feel like they won because they moved you down $2,000, even though you are still above your target. Always set the anchor first to control the reality of the negotiation. Trick 7. The door-in-the-face technique. This relies on the psychology of reciprocal concessions. If you want a small favor, ask for a massive one first. If you want a friend to watch your dog for the weekend, first ask them to watch the dog for a whole month. They will almost certainly say no. When they refuse, they will feel a slight pang of guilt or social pressure. That is when you pivot. Okay, I understand a month is too long. Could you just do this weekend then? Compared to the month, the weekend seems tiny, and because you conceded your first request, they feel socially obligated to say yes to the second, one to maintain the relationship balance. Trick 8. The foot in the door technique. Conversely, if you need something that requires a change in behavior or belief, start small. This utilizes the consistency principle. People like to act in ways that are consistent with their past actions. If you want a colleague to take over a massive project, don't ask them all at once. First, ask them to review the table of contents. Once they say yes and do it, they have psychologically committed to being involved in the project. Then ask for feedback on one chapter. Slowly escalate the requests. Because they have already said yes to the small steps, saying no later creates psychological friction. They will keep saying yes to stay consistent with their previous behavior. Trick 9. Social proof. Humans are herd animals. When we are uncertain, we look to others to determine correct behavior. This is famously demonstrated in the hotel towel study. Hotels that placed signs saying reuse your towels to save the environment got okay results. But hotels that changed the sign to say 75% of the guests in this room reuse their towels saw a massive spike in compliance. When you are trying to convince someone, don't tell them it's a good idea. Tell them it's the popular idea. Phrases like, most people in your situation usually choose, or our most successful clients typically do, bypass the brain's risk analysis and trigger the instinct to follow the crowd. Trick 10. The Ben Franklin effect. We usually think we do favors for people we like, but psychology shows the reverse is also true. We like people because we do favors for them. Benjamin Franklin famously won over a rival legislator not by groveling, but by asking to borrow a rare book. When the rival lent the book, his brain had to justify the action. Why did I lend a book to Ben? I must like him. If you want someone to like you, don't do things for them. Ask them for a small, simple favor. Ask to borrow a pen or for their opinion on a topic. Once they invest effort in you, their brain rationalizes that you must be worth the effort. Trick 11. Artificial scarcity, fear of missing out, or FOMO is driven by loss aversion. We value things more when they are rare or threatened, but this works best when the scarcity is specific. Don't just say an offer is ending. Explain why the supply is low. We only have 2 spots left because the venue has strict fire safety limits. Or, I can only help you with this on Tuesday as I'm booked the rest of the week. When the limitation feels real and external, the value of the opportunity skyrockets in the other person's mind, compelling them to act immediately to avoid the pain of losing out. Trick 12. Emotional labeling, tactical empathy. When emotions run high, logic runs low. The amygdala, the fear center of the brain, hijacks the prefrontal cortex. To bring someone back to logic, you need to deactivate the amygdala. You do this by labeling the fear. If someone is screaming at you, simply say calmly, "It seems like you are very angry about this delay." Don't judge it, just label it. MRI studies show that the moment a person hears their emotion named, the activity in the amygdala decreases. It forces the brain to process the emotion linguistically, which calms them down. Keep labeling the emotions until they exhaust their energy and return to a rational state. You now hold the keys to the back door of the human mind. You understand that silence is loud, names are powerful, and perception is reality. But a word of caution: these tools are neutral, but you are not. Use them to build bridges, not to burn them. I've given you 12 powerful secrets. Use the tricks wisely and pick the right method and the right person to control the situation in your favor. Like and subscribe for more deep psychology in the future.